Okay, welcome everybody to this week's Tuesday Talks, all about showcasing. It's probably one of our most requested topics and questions. I receive a lot of personal emails from artists and agents with questions relating to submitting to showcase. So we figured, why not do a Tuesday Talks all about this and help to answer some of your questions live. And then of course, this will be recorded and put on our YouTube channel afterwards. So I'd love to introduce today's host, but actually first I'm going to share my screen and share this PowerPoint with you all. Okay, can you guys all see this PowerPoint?
Dr. E, I love how your outfit matches the font color.
Exactly. So you can see Dr. E, this was from our 2021 conference here on the front. All right, so our host today, we have joining us Janet Herman Barlow, who is a presenter, and she is the director at the Stocker Art Center at Lorraine Community College. We have Tammy Walkup, who is an agent at Class X Entertainment. And then we have Dr. Elaine Richardson. She is an educator and a showcasing artist and goes by Dr. E. Welcome, ladies. Thanks so much for being host on today's Tuesday Talks. All of these ladies also are either currently or have been in the past a board member of OAPN. So really appreciate you joining us and being here to answer all the questions. Uh-oh, do I not have a little mouse to admit people? I don't know if I can admit people on this screen. Give me 1 second. Oh boy. All right. Well, I think I admitted that person. Hopefully we admitted that person. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this Tuesday Talks, I created a little bit of a PowerPoint, and this is going to show you the back end of going through the I Want to Showcase submission process. And then I have Tammy, Janet, and Dr. E here to answer questions. So because my screen is a little weird with having this up and only seeing a couple boxes, if you have any questions throughout this, please raise your hand. I'm going to try to go through it a little quickly. You can always rewatch the video if you missed something, because I do want to open this up to questions afterwards. So we'll start by saying that our I Want to Showcase submission process is currently open. The deadline to submit is Sunday, May 1st. And what you are submitting to is for the chance to be a juried showcasing artist at our 2022 conference. This will be held September 12th through 14th in Toledo, Ohio. Sorry, I don't know how to press admit. Oh boy. Well, this is going to be fun. Hang tight, guys. All right. So the first step to submitting to showcase is you are going to either go to oapn.org, go to our showcasing tab and click the I Want to Showcase button, or you go to iwanttoshowcase.ca. They are a Canadian company. So you'll see this when you log on and you will get started. If you've already applied to showcasing in the past, to start where to apply, you'll click on where to apply and you'll see our 2022 regional conference pop up. And you'll click apply now. You can also read the profile to get more information on our conference, our EDIA emerging artist sponsorship that we offer select artists. And it kind of gives you a rundown of the process before you start. So the first step is you want to create an application. If you've done this in the past, you can pick a performer. So Dr. E has performed at OAPN in the past. She already has an application. She can click her last year's application. We'll have some notes here. Sorry, guys, I don't think I can press admit while this is playing, so just keep going back and forth. So that's step one. Next, and I'm sorry, you're going to see somebody's name up here because that's how I had to take the screenshots through the back end. So you're going to select your profile, and then you're going to scroll to the bottom and click the terms and conditions, and then start your application. Sorry, guys. Every time you see me exit, it's because somebody wants to enter and I have to admit them. Okay, so what you'll see when you scroll down, you'll see these three circles. And if you notice that there are like warning signs and the red circle, when your profile is complete, you'll see all those will have green check boxes. I Want to Showcase did away with a final submit button for whatever reason. So there is no finish, there is no submit. So you just want to make sure that all these are green. It's very obvious when you're on your profile. So your first step that you're going to take when you're filling this out, you're going to click on your first circle. And again, I'm going to go through these in this order. Contacts. This is just very basic, your contact information, whoever's filling it out. If you're the agent, if you're the self-represented artist, just filling out your contact information. This is also to note, I think it's the next screen, that you do not need to be a member of OAPN to submit to Showcase. However, if you are selected, you will need to become a member. All right, performer details. This is just your performer name, email, website, all of that fun stuff. There's a new text this year. Do you identify as any of the following? Please check all that apply. Oh, and sorry, you know what, another one for your performance categories, you'll see these two boxes. I can't move anything. There we go. So you'll see your performance categories. They've narrowed them down this year. So try to choose the first category that's most representative of what you do. Then you've got a primary subgenre, which is the second long box on the right. And then you can do a secondary subgenre and you can write that in. Okay, membership information. You can disregard this because you do not need to be a member at this time, but many of you probably are. So you just write in the membership name. Tech production information, you do not need to write this in, but there are many showcases that have special tech requirements, and this is important information for those folks, so feel free to type that in. The next box is payments. I suggest just doing this last because I think you want to make sure that you fill everything out as properly as possible, and then do your payment part last. Showcase information. Or showcase info. So this short bio, you have a max of 1,000 characters. You do not need to use all 1,000 characters, but this is just a brief overview of what the audience can expect in terms of storyline experience. This is the show that you plan on touring. So if you are a singer-songwriter and you've got a 3-piece band, you're not going to write that you're a circus act or you're a flame blower here. You're going to really just write your short bio of what you do. And most likely this is a bio that you already have on your website. This miscellaneous box is for our EDIA Emerging Artist Sponsorship Opportunity. So what OAPN does is we put out a call for sponsors to sponsor qualifying artists, and then we then offer those sponsorship dollars to select artists that make it into the juried showcase selection. So the rules and qualifications, you must be Ohio-based, self or unrepresented, and self-identify as BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and or an artist with a disability. So if you qualify, please feel free to say yes in here. Let us know why you qualify. And if you are selected to be in the top 24 juried showcasing artists, we will then offer you the sponsorship. This sponsorship will cover everything, including your tech fees, your registration, your hotel for a night. We give you a free annual membership. Everything's covered so that this conference won't cost you a dime. And then you get to showcase in front of all of our attendees. Any questions so far? You guys are all good? I'm going to try to get through this so that all the good questions can come at the end. Touring information. This is the next circle on your list. And this is really just going to say what folks can expect. So they've changed the touring performance fee for this year. We used to have a range, and now it's really just what's your fee for when you go play a show. We all know that everything is subject to negotiation. Everything changes. If you're in Canada and your first show's in Texas, and then you're coming up to Ohio, we know that there's routing. So, but on average, what does your show cost? It helps put some perspective with our presenters who are looking for acts that are maybe $1,000 to $7,000, or, they have budgets for 10,000 and up. So we get a lot of questions about this. So if you have questions, feel free to ask that. But what is your single show cost? Additional info, OAPN and our presenters utilize artists that can do community and educational outreach. Actually, Janet and David Mitchell on this call, they both will bring artists in and then put them out in the community or put them at, Janet will put them at the college to do educational outreach for the community or students. So if you offer this, this is where you'd want to put this. Promotion and publicity, pretty standard, but how many social media followers do you have, on which channels? Do you send out press releases? Do you use a marketing team? Is this, all on your end? So just let us know what kind of promotion publicity you do. And at the bottom, just check all the additional performances, or in addition to performances, anything else that you offer, just check those. All right, photos and docs. This is just where you're uploading your promotional files. So, kind of some folks will ask, what is a quality photo? You don't want a photo taken from an iPhone. You want something that's probably been taken by a professional photographer. That's going to be your main photo. And it shows either you as an artist or what you do on stage. Secondary photo can just be the alternate of, maybe you have a headshot of yourself as the artist, maybe one's of the band, maybe one's live, maybe one's in a studio. Your biography, really, most artists that are, somewhat established already have this on their website. So you're really pulling from your bio that gives this brief description of who you are, what you do, and some accolades. And then you have your EPK one sheet. It's kind of a mixture of all of it, right? Basically everything that you uploaded separately, this has it all on one sheet. And you can always, Bandzoogle offers a lot of tips on this. So if you look up Bandzoogle, they'll give you tips and tricks on one sheets and EPKs. Showcase tech requirements. This is your tech sheet. So every artist should have a stage plot, whether, say you're Dr. E and you are just doing solo shows and you are just one woman and one microphone and you need 2 monitors, make sure your stage plot represents that. If you're a full band, make sure that you have the appropriate stage plot and that you're uploading that information. And you can read the rest on the rest that's required for this section. Supplementary file, not a lot of folks add this. You don't really need to, kind of deter to maybe Tammy or Janet on this, but this is just additional files that you might need that, go along with your performance. Audio and video. So the video links, this is where you're going to copy and paste in your YouTube or Vimeo video that this is probably the most important part. This is showcasing what you do on a stage or in front of people or what you sound like. So, with COVID, I know a lot of folks weren't able to play live, maybe get updated, good quality video. So we are, our jury understands that and would not hold anything against an artist who doesn't have, video from 2020 to 2021 here. But this video, and this is a big question, I will deter to Tammy and Janet probably later on, but this really needs to showcase, this has to be really good quality, highest quality that you have that showcases what you do on a stage. If you have audio samples you'd like to attach, feel free. That's it. Okay. Let me stop the share here. Okay, I wanted to run through that. I know that was a little long. Well, you're only 17 minutes in, we're good. Okay, so I want to open this up to questions. If there are no questions right off the bat, then I am going to pass it along to Janet to kick it off, to just talk a little bit about maybe what our jury is looking for, how much time you spend, what are you looking for when you are reviewing these showcase submissions? Passing the baton to you, Janet.
Okay, thanks, Jess. When I'm reviewing applications or at a showcase live, what I'm looking for is an artist who actually will fit into one of the 2 spaces that I book. And I'm looking for an artist whose, what I see in the video is also represented by the material I've read. And I'm looking for an artist that has strong enough promotional materials that I can use them to help promote them. Because most of the time, I have less than 1,000 seats in my theater and a really small budget relative to a lot of other people. And so most of the time I'm booking artists that my audience has never heard of. And so without really strong promotional materials, it is very difficult to get anybody to come and see the artist. So again, I mean, I know Jessica emphasized the importance of your YouTube or your video, and that is hugely important, but just as important to me as a presenter is what I can use to actually promote you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Janet. Next, I'm going to pass it off to Tammy, who's been a longtime board member. She's an agent who represents multiple artists. And I'll just have you give me a little background on what, who you've submitted over the years. Actually, we reference your act Mojo Flow, who had one of the best showcases that, was talked about for a long time. So I'll have you go on about that. But before that, I see a hand up. Sarah, you have a question?
I do have a question. Thank you. And I think somebody asked it in the chat as well. We're curious about exactly what kind of promotional materials are most helpful and how to submit those.
Okay.
I'm gonna have Janet.
Do you want me to start on that, since I saw the question come through in the chat as well? Well, let's start with one of my pet peeves. Don't use photos that are 25 years old and look nothing like what you look like and what people are going to see on our stage. Use current photos or photos that are as current as you possibly can have. A great EPK that has brochure copy, realizing that on a brochure, you're much more limited in the amount of copy you can have than you're going to put on your website. So you can certainly have a full bio, and there's an opportunity to do both in the application. But on your EPK, it's really helpful to have just a sort of slice of life that we can use on our brochure. And I also really encourage everybody to have an up-to-date website. I'm amazed at how many websites, that artists send us as links, and I go to it and it hasn't been updated since 1986. I mean, I can't use that material. And it makes it seem as if you are not really a working artist. So that's also a deterrent to me in terms of booking you. But good photos, good video, good EPK, a catchy brochure copy, as opposed to, I am Janet Herman Barlow, I do this, and boy, am I a boring person. That is not something that will sell. Hope that helps.
You feel like that helps, Sarah?
It did, yes. I do have a question about the brochure content, though. Are you looking for more like a prepackaged brochure, or just text of a certain length that you can copy and paste into something that you want to put together on your end?
What I might be looking for is probably different than an agent or artist would be looking for, but I don't need you to send me a flashy brochure, because I can't upload your flashy brochure to my bad website, which is part of the college here. I'm looking for catchy copy that will tell somebody who's never heard of Sarah or the Ted Yoder band or whatever, what you do.
Can I suggest,
yes.
do you, would having a portion on your website that's labeled EPK be a good link to, so that when you go to that person's website, you can download a photo, you can copy and paste, bio content, you can link directly to YouTube videos, having it all online like that, is that?
No, because I don't have the time. We're a really, really small staff. I don't have the time to go to every artist's individual website. They should be sending, when we book something, we expect them to send the materials to us that they want us to use. And that is what we use by contract usually.
For this, when they're submitting this, for the promo materials, is that where you want? I think Sarah is asking, how is this submitted to you in the application? Is this on your one sheet? Because we talked about a brochure.
Well, I'm talking about the presenter's brochure to sell out to the audience. If you're talking about the application process, I think that just the way that the blocks ask for the material is the way that it needs to be submitted, is my understanding. I mean, Dr. E, you were showcasing artists this last year. How did you handle that? What was the questions that were asked?
Well, they gave like a character limit, so I tried to make sure I didn't go over the character limit. One of the things that I had to juggle, maybe, was in the area of performance category or genre. Because I consider myself a soul singer. And for me, soul is more encompassing than, some people might see this another way, but soul encompasses to me R&B, blues, jazz, gospel are all in soul. But that's not a category, right? They have jazz and blues, but I didn't want to pick jazz and blues because I felt like somebody might, think that I'm a blues singer or a jazz singer, even though I can sing blues, even though I can sing jazz. That's not like how I feel what I do, right? So I picked variety, and then I used the bio space to present myself as a soul singer. So I'm, Dr. E, the inspirational soul queen. I do covers of Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight, interspersed with my own, I tried to signal things in that space that I could, and tried to just so that a presenter or agent could see, okay, I might have a slot for her, and also me as a variety, I chose variety because I also do one-woman shows. I also can do educational workshops, community presentations, stuff like that. So I felt like variety was my best shot so that I didn't, like put myself, narrow what I could be considered for. Am I answering the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And Tammy, I promise to circle back to you, but Jerry, you have your hand up for a question, and then we'll move it on to Tammy.
So first, I agree. The categories are really difficult to work with. It's it's hard to define some of the stuff that you do, and if it's not there, you really have to kind of go through some gyrations to get your message across. But my question to Janet is, some of our artists house all of their materials, TV ads, print ads, bios, tech writers on their website that are right there to download. Is that something you guys can deal with, or do you need us, and this is for artists obviously you're bringing in, do you need us to download those and then try and email them to you? And what if the files are too big? Can your weak little computer system, as you put it, deal with you send it or transfer big files or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, usually if people have big files, they send it to us in a Dropbox or similar kind of link. You have to remember that let me take it first from the showcase application part. From the showcase application part, you really need to provide what the showcase application is asking for. In other words, don't send the jury, whoever they are, however many of them are, to 27 different sites, because they're not going to have time to do it. So follow the directions and fill in the application and do what the application asks.
I agree.
Once I book a show, there are slight differences, except for the thing that you have to remember is the way that I'm going to sell your artist is with the material you give me. I'm not gonna shoot everything back to you to approve. I'm not gonna do it. I don't have time. You know, I don't have the resources.
But
I
that's-
figure if I
that's-
get the material from you, it's what you want me to use to sell your artist.
Right, and so we have a section on the artist website that says, here's your approved bio, here's your approved photos, here's your approved marketing, here's the approved brochure copy. So all of that's right there. Are
Yeah, and
you
it's not
able-
like, yeah, I feel you on this one, Jerry, too, because I think a lot of times too, even working on the marketing end for other venues, the artist will send a link to one page on the website. So you're not searching around everywhere. It's all
Right.
there. So it just makes it easier than uploading stuff. So they would send that link. It's, you know, your artist name /EPK, and then everything that presenter should need is on that one page. Is that common for you, Janet, or even David? I know, Peg, you don't have microphone or audio or a video, but
Yeah, but don't just send me to the artist's website and expect me to search through the whole
No.
website to find everything that I'm looking for.
right, I think that's
Yeah.
the question. It's a specific page titled EPK, which is Electronic Press Kit, which has every bit of information that the presenter would need on one page.
Or it could be marketing and tech, and you could have a 60-second TV ad or a print ad, and you just draw down from that what you need.
David,
Yeah,
I saw you.
I would just add a repository on the artist's website for all marketing material is ideal. So it's one page, and I can find brochure copy, I can find press pics, I can find HD video links. I mean, it could be links to YouTube. I can download video there, but having one concise repository is ideal.
Perfect. And then Robin, I want to get to you, but I keep bypassing Tammy. So Tammy, real quick before I get to Robin, tell us a little bit about how you're submitting acts, what kind of promo material you're uploading, and then out of your acts, you know, who's been selected, and are there reasons why that you believe?
To me or to Robin?
To you, Tammy,
Okay.
sorry, and then Robin next.
Okay, when we have submitted in the past, I haven't submitted any yet for this one. You know, obviously, it's important to put your best foot forward. And as someone mentioned previously, you don't want to submit something that's more than 5 years old. And that's what a lot of people run into. Just recently, I've been working on some concert series that I book, and I go in to find video of these bands, and there's nothing for like 10 years. And, you know, again, that tells me, are you working? Or are you just not paying attention to when you're working and what you should be recording? Personally speaking, as an agent and a buyer for a couple of different people, in my mind, it doesn't have to be thousands upon $1,000 professional video for me to get a good grasp on how you sound. And I know that may differ from other people, because not all bands or performers have the money or the budget to have a professional video, yet they are like really, really, really awesome. We try to submit, you know, the best thing that we can, and we try to tell the artists that we do submit, like you mentioned Mojo Flow. I know they're the act that we submitted, and I've said this before, but it was one of the best showcases I have ever seen, because they rehearsed that, you know, 10, 12-minute show and went from one song into the next, and they showed variety, versatility, and they made a really, really good use of their showcase time. And it was one of those showcases where you thought, damn, is that over already? Because there have been showcases that I've seen before that it was like, oh my goodness, is this ever going to be over? And I shouldn't say that, but you don't want people to be sitting out there saying that to themselves. You want to keep them engaged and enjoying whatever, whether it's dance or comedy. I know comedy is really hard to do a showcase, but we've had comedians kick butt in showcases at OAPN.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And that's a good lead on, and Dr. E, I'll get to you in just a few after I get some of the questions, but you had a wonderful showcase, and our OEPN showcases this past year and this coming year will be our 15 minutes. And so if in a little bit, I'll have you think about this, but kind of let us know how you went about planning your 15-minute showcase, because it's hard for artists, right? You want to project everything in usually 3 to 4 songs, and sometimes that can go really wrong, and other times it's great. So think about that. And then Robin, you have your hand up.
So it's a little out of context where we are now in the conversation, but we were talking a little bit about the application, and Dr. E mentioned that she put in variety. But variety to me is a very specific category, more like cirque, juggling type of performances. So I'm curious to know how the people that are going to be reviewing this are going to look at that category. I mean, I know in some of the other conferences, they divide the reviewers up into groups. So dance would be one group, music another group. Are you dividing the applications into groups with different people reviewing it? Because if that's the case, then Dr. E would be in the wrong category.
Yes, and so I was thinking about that too, and I'll bring some of these questions to Janet and Tammy, who have in the past served on the jury. But yeah, Dr. E, like that probably wouldn't be the right category for you. Jazz blues might be, but we have not personally since my time as the ED divvy these up based on categories. So it's a random selection that we apply each judge to. And I don't feel like it's a make or break it with the categories. I think we're utilizing it. And I think even at the end, we can manually adjust things if we're like, I don't think the person got that one right, but I don't think we hold it against them. But you guys as actual jurors in the past, how do you feel about their categories? Is that something you really look at, or are you really looking at their promo materials and video?
I'm really.
I don't look at it.
Yeah, go on,
Okay.
Tammy.
No, I don't. I mean, like she said, variety to one person might mean something to, to somebody different. And classic rock, to me, classic rock is 70s. To somebody else, classic rock might be the 80s. So I just I've never really looked closely at that unless it's something really, really different, like world music, or you know what I mean? If it's something, my goodness, what is this? I've never seen this before. Then I look and say, okay, where do they classify themselves? But that's just me.
Yeah, to me,
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go on, Robin. This is your question. So.
For example, like physical theater, is that dance? Is that considered, would that be in your dance category, or would that be in your theater category?
I guess I'd personally say the variety. I think that would be under variety. I know it's so hard. I think they used to offer more options in the past, and they were trying to reduce them this past year. I wouldn't put a lot of stress on your category. I think if anything, the material that you're uploading is more important, but I think all of our, and I know personally for OEPN, we don't break it up based on category. And I think, again, if somebody was juggling fire and they wrote folk music, we would change that category for them at the end. We would adjust that.
I'm thinking that you're not going to book 10 dance acts and 1 music act. So you're going to divide it up. And if somebody's in the wrong category, that's where I was basically going.
Yeah. No, the jurors will fix everything, and it all has the human review on it. So it wouldn't get lost in the mix if it wasn't technically categorized correct. But it's
Right.
a good question. I know it's a struggle that I want to showcase the folks that make that platform deal with. They're like, how many categories can we list? And so they tried to break it down to the top that all of the other consortias said were their top areas, and then they have the sub, and then of course you can add in your last one. So, but yeah, don't stress on that one, at least for our conference.
Thanks.
Yeah, and all of the times that I've juried, and I've been on several, including for Arts Midwest and other conferences, it's never been broken down for the jury to just review one category. I've never been on that kind of a jury. So there may be some conferences that I've never been to, I've never been on the jury for where they do that, but I've never been on one of those. And I frankly put more stock in what's in the bio. So for me, what Dr. E did with choosing variety because that's what felt right to her, but then explaining in her bio what she really was performing, what she really does. That's where I would go for the information about what an artist really does.
Yeah. And then you see that video and you go, I
Right.
know what she does.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Hit the unmute button. Hi, everybody. Yeah, my question is, I'm thinking y'all can answer this, or Jess or the OAPN folks can answer this. Is the juried selection process going to be geared towards any particular genre or any particular level of performance? Like, for instance, would my tribute artists be wasting their time to submit an application? Are you all going to consider dance, tribute, all different kinds of music, variety, etc.?
That's a great question. And I will start by saying, and then I'll pass it off to Tammy and Janet. But all categories are absolutely looked at. How the rubric works with OAPN, there are 5 categories, and it really is coming down to your promo, publicity, the quality, the artistic skill. I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head, but it's really coming down to the professionalism of this artist. So it doesn't matter what they do. A soulful act is being ranked on their professionalism, their artistic skill, the quality of the submission, the same as the dancer or the physical theater comedian. They're all ranked in that same world. And I'll say that last year we actually had two tribute acts actually make it to the top 24. However, unfortunately, with COVID, they couldn't attend, so we had to go to our next in line. So, that wasn't included in our juried showcases in 2021, but they were chosen. They were, phenomenal. Janet, Tammy, when you're looking at these, I mean, can you expand on that question?
I've never looked at a application with a quota in mind. I've never been on a jury where that was anything that was looked at. So like Jess said, it's all just taking the rubric and balancing it against the points that you get for each of the 5 categories for OAPN. And that's, again, the way that Arts Midwest used to work as well. I mean, I think that there is, I think most artists have a good shot at being in a showcase if they truly want to do that, and they're willing to put together the kind of material they need to put together to compete. I think Jess has mentioned on several occasions, we had 130 applicants last year. We're expecting probably that we will hit that, if not more, this year. So there's deep competition when you're only talking about 24 slots. Mm-hmm. So, the material that you put together for your artists, or if you're artists yourselves, the material you submit really has more to do with, and the video you submit really has more to do with whether you get selected or not than what type of act you are.
Yeah, and I'll say too, because I was on a jury many years ago, but this past year, I've never seen such phenomenal submissions. So our rubric goes to 25 is the highest. And we have multiple judges on each application, and we take the average from those scores. And we had the folks that made it to our top 24, I mean, we're 23.75 and higher, which was in the past, I believe acts that made it into the jury were even ranked at 20 points and between 20 and 25. But because we had so many and so many great submissions, it was harder this year to choose, and folks just scored very highly. So
and I tried to put myself in the shoes of somebody that would buy a ticket. And as I'm watching these demos, what I pay to see this person, whether it's a $5 Friday or whatever the ticket price is, are they presenting something that's going to put butts in seats? And sometimes they're not. I mean, sometimes it's just not of the quality that I feel the PAC centers are looking for. I do buying, you know, in addition to working with some performing arts centers and some concert series, I do buying for other clients. And so when I'm watching these, I'm selfishly watching as a buyer for clients, and I'm also watching as an agent for corporate client or somebody else like that. So in my mind, it has to be someone who is dynamic, and they're bringing, like I said before, they're putting their best foot forward. They're showing their very best. The band looks like a band. I'm not asking them to wear tuxedos. I'm just saying, look like you're a band. Don't look like you met on the way there and said, hey, let's play some tunes together. I mean, you know, if you're wearing blue jeans and black shirts, you look like a band altogether. I just feel like it needs to be a cohesive group on stage if that's what you want to present to people who are paying money for tickets.
Yeah, that's good. Elizabeth, you still have your hand up. Are you?
Oh, no, that y'all have covered it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
So, I don't know if there's a regulation or a guideline for artists that have showcased the previous year, whether they're allowed to showcase the next year. This is a kind of a two-part. So, if there's no guideline to that, or if you showcase in person, because we had a couple of artists, actually one of those artists you talked about at least, were ours that couldn't make it, but were selected for live showcasing. To the question, first question to you is, if we were selected to showcase last year, does that eliminate our possibility for this year?
So your case is a little different. They were selected and couldn't attend, so they can reapply for this year. But in like Dr. E's case, or any of the artists that actually were selected and performed on our stage in 2021, they're not eligible to submit to perform the following year. You have to wait 1 year in between. So
Okay.
Dr. E couldn't submit again, but because yours was selected and actually couldn't attend, they technically weren't actually a showcasing artist. So
Okay.
yes, they can submit this year.
So now the second part of that question is more to Janet and Tammy and whoever else is on the jury, who will be jurying again this year. Is there any kind of bias against those people? I mean, should I think that gee, they selected them last year, you know, they're going to move on to something different this year? Or are you guys going to be able to just say, okay, the heck with it, we're starting with a clean slate?
Well, people on the jury change. So I think that you're not going to have the same people necessarily reviewing that review. Sorry, you moved on my screen, Jerry. That reviewed previously. So I don't think it's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to like say, oh, they got selected last year, they didn't come, so I'm not going to select them again this year, because they won't even know.
Yeah. Totally. Jerry.
I'm Jerry with a G, the other Jerry. I have a question about fees. So when you're putting the fee on the application, two parts. What if it's an artist that has two different shows? Do you put two different fees, or do you put a fee range?
So we've had an artist in the past that has asked this question. And here's my personal opinion on it. I think when you are submitting, I think you need to submit each show as its own submission, because, you know, you have your first video, and if in your bio it says, you know, this artist is a Karen Carpenter tribute, or they also do the music of the 30s, you know, it's
Or
two
a
different
solo show or duo show, or a show with a, 8-piece band, something like that.
So it's the same show, but with more, they can make it more or less members.
Yes.
Oh, that, okay, yeah, sorry, that would be one submission, and then I think that can absolutely be in your bio that, you know, that this ranges, and I think you could put your fee range for, you know, the solo, duo, 8-piece band. For that price point, gosh, I don't know, Janet, Tammy, anybody from, you know, reviewing, I know that would range a lot. And I don't know if that box gives you the option to say like 2,000 to 10,000. So that's a great question. Janet, pass it off to
The
you.
way that I'm reading the new box as it appears on the current application, it looks like you need to put one fee in it, like one number, like it's not going to allow you to do a range, but I didn't try to fill it out.
Actually,
So-
it does allow you to give a range, but I was wondering if that's confusing for the jurors, you know, looking at it.
I think
Okay.
that's
What
always
show are
been
we getting for
confusing
this price and
everybody.
what show? Yeah,
I
yeah.
think one of the things that has happened, and one of the reasons why, you know, it's always the fee range question has always come up every year for everything I've ever been involved in, is because nobody understands what it means. You know, that it's not, that first of all, that it's negotiable and everything is. And secondly, that, okay, if you put $5,000, that doesn't mean that every show you do is $5,000. That means that's sort of more the standard you start from. And then if you add travel, or if you add more band members, or if you add, you have to, you know, go further, you have to fly in order to make the date. Those are all factors that change that amount.
Yeah, if it's a block booking, you know, it's gonna range from a one-off to 3 or 4 shows in one area. So I think personally speaking, when I look at the range, I understand in my head, as somebody that's been doing this for as long as I have, I get it that it's not going to be this amount of money, that it could be from this to this based on all the ancillary things that could be added on or taken off.
Yeah, and you know, my question, Jerry, too, would be if this act is submitting and they got selected to showcase, would they come to the showcase with 8 pieces or 2 or 1? Because I would assume that whatever you would send to showcase is the price point that you want to put in there. And then of course in your bio and your other language, it can say this can be reduced to to this or maximized to this. So I would say whatever you're sending to showcase if selected, that should probably be the price point you're putting.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And then we can put it in the bio.
Yeah, because again, these aren't any, these aren't bots looking at it. These are all humans, so they, can kind of put pieces together. But that was a great question. That took us some going around.
I know, I understand. It's just that you just have so many time to go through all the applications. So we just want to simplify it as much as possible, but make it as clear as possible so you know, because we don't want you going, hey, wait a second, you put in, an 8-piece band and now you're showing up with a solo artist. That's confusing. So.
Yeah. And then actually that ties back into, so submitting to showcase, you're putting this whole submission together, and this has happened on multiple occasions where, our judges have reviewed and brought folks in, and then they've showcased live and didn't do as great of a job as maybe the material was. And that's for many reasons. It's a very stressful thing, I think, for artists to put together everything you want to present to somebody in 15 minutes. So I'm going to pass it off to Dr. E, who this was your first time being connected even to, I think, this conference world, and you put on a fantastic showcase. And of course, I don't know what your submission looked like, but what went into that as an artist when you put together your 15-minute showcase show?
Well, that the video that I used came from a virtual show at the Maltz Performing Arts Center. So the Maltz is in Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, but I live in Columbus. And it wasn't like a paid show. It was like they put your Cash App or your Venmo or whatever up there, and they, offer the audience, if you want to give a tip to Dr. E, So I didn't want to ask my Columbus musicians to go because most of them don't have a job. Like music is their job. So I have a job and I do music. So I thought, okay, I won't ask them because I don't know how much I can pay them. And it was during COVID and all of that too. So I used a friend in Cleveland who I've worked with many, many years, was excellent guitarist. And we did a duo show. And they gave us the video. The Malts gave us like a professional video. So it was great. It was worth, everything because of the video that they gave. And I put that video up on my Instagram, YouTube and stuff, and I was getting remarkable feedback. People was like, "Oh, y'all killed. This was great." So I was like, okay, I'm going to use this video for the OAPN showcase because it was the best video that I've ever had. And so I knew then that I was going to do a duo showcase because I had a duo video. I didn't want to, I wanted to present something, congruent to what I wanted to perform something congruent to what I presented. So that's how I, chose my video. And, I chose to do a duo show as a medley. So even though it was just myself and one musician, we did a medley of the type of show that I wanted to do. So I did a little bit of Gladys, a little bit of Aretha, a little bit of Shaka, and a little bit of me. So that's how I put together a medley so the people could have an idea of the kind of stuff that I would do. And I used my best photo that was not more than 5 years old. And
you had some backup singers. You had some backup singers out in the audience. We were doing
out in the audience, right? That was awesome. Yeah. I had no background singers, and the audience, they got with me. So, and I think I did a good job of choosing songs that the audience knew, because I'm a songwriter and I really pride myself on writing songs, but I know that people want to hear something that they're familiar with and get involved in your performance. So it worked out fine. I met a lot of people through the conference. I think you will really enjoy the conference itself. There were really the performers. You get to see, most of you guys are probably more experienced with conferences than me. But anyway, I had a great experience because I met performers that I love, that I'm still in contact with from doing the showcase. A lot of great talent, a lot of variety, agents and performing arts center programmers and stuff. So it's a great opportunity.
Great. Thanks, Dr. E. So, I think to kind of round this out and close it up, we're getting to the last few minutes. Janet, Tammy, Dr. E, Janet and Tammy, for your the big no-nos of things to submit, can you just list off like 3 things that come to mind where you're like, if you're submitting, just don't do this because it's really probably not going to make it. I know you said a lot. And then I'll say to Dr. E, maybe something that you learned from watching showcases, from doing your own, maybe a big no-no if you're selected, and then you get on that stage. So I'm going to start with Tammy because I think you might have had something to say.
Well, I know I said that you don't have to have a professional video to submit what you can do. However, don't submit a video of you performing in a bar where you're using profound language. That's not going to cut it. Don't use something where there's a lot of talking, a lot of background noise in the video. Just don't. And that's the biggest thing for me, is when I see something like that, it's automatic thumbs down for me.
Yeah, I think professionalism is so key. And I think that's what I think a lot of the judges are looking for, because so many of them are experienced with either presenting the talent or selling the talent, that there's a certain level, and I think it's apparent when you start reviewing, you know, a
Right.
handful of, you know, of submissions. So yeah, so that's great. Janet,
Don't
what
send
are
a pic, don't send a picture of anybody flipping off the camera either, because that
That
has
happened?
happened. That has
Oh.
happened. We had somebody submit a photo of their band and everybody's flipping the bird. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Janet, can you top
Well,
that?
No, not really. Tammy came up with a lot of my good ones. But again, I would definitely say you want to submit, you want to stay away from submitting old material. You know, if you no longer look like you're 20, don't send me a picture from when you were 20. Submit stuff that is going to be reflective of what we see up on the stage. You know, that's a big no. Obviously, any of the profanity that Tammy was, we're in the Midwest, and I'm in rural Midwest, and it just is not something that goes over big. And if you think that that's the way that you're going to get a booking, you might want to go into a different field, maybe.
That's good. All right.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's great. Elaine, on the other end of everything.
I would say a no is for me. This is for me. I did a showcase at APAP many years ago, and I used two musicians. I had a 5-piece band, but I used two musicians that I had never worked with before. And even though we were well rehearsed, they froze. That was their first time doing a showcase,
Oh my.
and they froze at APAP. I mean, the drummer overplayed everything. He was playing too hard. It was not, it's like, oh my God, I just spent all this money to get here. I worked so hard to get here to APAP. And so I would say make sure that you, if there are any other artists, out here.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Make sure that your musicians are in sync with you and they know everything that you need as far as their ability to support the act.
This is perfect. What a great way to end this. Nobody's hand is raised, so that's always a good sign. Just so you guys know, if you didn't catch it in the beginning, but this was recorded and this will go on our YouTube channel and also on our website. If you visit oapn.org/Tuesday Talks, you'll find all of our past ones. Before we kick off, we're at 2:00. Robin, do you have one last thing to say?
One last thing. Do we have a sense of the buyers that are going to be coming to this at all yet? Like the size of the theaters, to get a sense of budgets and so forth? Because now that there's no Midwest, I know you and I have talked about it. I think that you might be picking up quite a lot of presenters who are looking for live showcasing.
Yeah.
But some of us, I know Jerry for sure, and probably Tammy and Jerry are all looking for presenters that might have a big enough house and a big enough budget for some of the artists that we would normally showcase at Arts Midwest.
Yeah.
Years ago when I did OAPN, we had a lot of the larger buyers, but they sort of drifted off in the last years. So I'm wondering if those buyers will be coming back, and if you have a sense of that yet. You might not, but I'm just curious.
That's a great question. And so I will say to all of you, yes, we're really working to kind of be this stopgap, this placeholder, since Arts Midwest is no longer. Arts Midwest is assisting with promotion, and we've connected with state consortias, all of our surrounding state consortias. So we've extended our reach and our registration to pretty much this entire region. So we are expecting between 300 to 500 folks, heavy on the presenters. Of course, and unfortunately, we do not know who's attending until we start seeing registration come in. So we will open registration May 1st. And the sad part of that is a lot of our presenters don't have their fiscal budgets renewed until July. So we'll start seeing a lot of our presenters come in July, and then unfortunately you have to submit the showcase before May 1st. So, we use all of May to select the artists, and then we should announce by June who our Juried showcasing artists are. We also are adding independent showcases to this year's conference. It's still being worked out, and it's going to be handled by an outside company. Crandall Rogers will be taking care of all of the independent showcasing, and more information is coming out about that soon. But when we start getting the information in on presenters, between May and mid-July, I'm happy to share that. We will have a more extensive registration form so that we can collect more of this data as well, so that we can share this with those who are registering to attend. But we all feel really good and really positive that it's just going to be probably the biggest OAPN to date. So I don't know that that answers your question, but I think we're going to really see a nice scale of presenters, and
So that's super helpful. I mean, getting the lists of presenters, and instead of getting one list and then another list that's different, it would be good if it was just the list plus the new attendees all in one, separating out the presenters from the agents. So we're not emailing or trying to reach people that aren't actually presenters.
Well, and with the consortias, it's going to open it up to other states rather than just Ohio buyers.
Good.
So we could stand to have some people from out of state, as well as the buyers that you're used to seeing at OAPN.
That'd be
absolutely.
excellent.
And Andy, yes, the independent showcases will be a separate submission. And if you go to our oapn.org/showcasing, you will see a button. It's either there or on our 2022 conference page. Go to our website, it's somewhere. It will link you to the independent showcases. And if it's not already there, I'll make sure it gets there by tomorrow. But it will be a separate showcase submission, and we're going to make sure it doesn't overlap, so that the Juried showcase artists will be notified before the independent ones begin, so you don't kind of waste any additional money or time submitting to something if you've already made it to a jury selected. So, all right, we're over. I'm going to end this one. I'm Jessica Rosenblatt, the Executive Director of the Ohio Arts Professionals Network. Thanks for joining us. Janet, Tammy, Elaine, thank you so much for joining us as our host today. Hope you got something out of this. We'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.